I was curious how this came to be, Conscious Talks, what the direction is for you, um, what your visions are, in terms of what you're trying to create and offer to the listeners of this show.
Absolutely. And I love that question. That's a fantastic question. So, as you know, I'm a big member of the Light Bearers, which we've only spoken about briefly, but we can speak about that at any time at your leisure. So, the Light Bearers are all about helping people on the path towards enlightenment. And I would say that aligns really well with me as well. I feel like one of my missions here on this planet is to help raise the consciousness, raise the conscious potential of the human collective, to reduce suffering, to enhance the experience of life. And so I've had so many wonderful conversations with so many people over the years where it's just me, one other person, and spirit. And spirit's always listening. Spirit always brings information through the ethers to people that need it. But that leaves out a huge segment of people that might be interested, might be looking for more ideas, answers, questions. And so to bring these wonderful conversations that I might have with yourself or Jeff or one of my many other friends, associates, colleagues, just to bring that conversation to the public, that was the main goal. I love how it brings people together. It allows us to promote our businesses. But the main thing is just bringing more consciousness into the world. I'd like to think I have a very general open-mindedness of a large variety of topics. And that's what I find in the private conversations I've had with many people over the years. And so many people describe a circumstance where they talk to someone on the phone for hours. I feel like if I had the time, I could talk to most people on the phone for hours. And so to just bring that to the world is a blessing. It's a joy. And I think people are enjoying it. All the comments I'm getting privately, people are enjoying it. I haven't put any real marketing into it yet, but I do plan to build a website and set up some very legitimate distribution channels for this podcast to get bigger and bigger. Currently, we're on about six different sources for podcasts. And so the number grows all the time, the analytics grow all the time, and the impact could be large. I'm not Joe Rogan, but I think I have enough to be someone that
You're
people would
Joseph
want to hear.
McDonald.
I'm Joseph McDonald, absolutely. So I don't know. Do you watch Joe Rogan?
Yeah, I've been watching, like, not as much as I used to, but because I was a huge UFC fan, right? And like
Yeah,
I
it
used to
makes
watch
sense.
Fear Factor back in the day. I knew about Joe. I was like, not
You
to
were
be one of those guys.
Hipster
Yeah,
Joe
yeah,
lover.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I literally listened to like the first episodes where there was like snowflakes falling with Red Band and stuff.
Hmm.
He's blown up, and but he was always big too. I mean, not
Yeah.
always, but he was big before that was even initiated, so it makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah, I'm
But
inspired by his career. I think he's done a lot of wonderful things through comedy, through his fighting, always challenging himself, always exploring.
yeah,
I'm an
he's awesome.
explorer as well, and so he has thousands of episodes. And so, if the new generation wants to listen to someone else, that could be possible. I'm sure there's a lot of very successful podcast hosts, and so just that opportunity to help
Yeah,
expand
man,
consciousness.
there's gaps that Joe doesn't reach. That I think that's the abundance of people out there. I don't think you should compare or contrast necessarily, but realize like what you bring to the table is unique to yourself, and like you'll reach people that need to be reached in ways that Joe wouldn't reach them, and they're not interested in Joe. Um, and that's the beauty of infinite potential, you know. And I just wanted to say, like, I was a fan of what you were doing even before you started this show. So once I seen that you started this, I was like, oh, cool. And I'm happy to be invited as a guest, and maybe I'll be back on in the future. But what you were doing with just those conversations you would do by yourself, like um, you had a lot of interesting points. And I remember listening to something, and you touched on a topic or a subject just briefly. I think it was, oh, it was leverage. And I was like, hey, I just reached out to you and I was like, I really enjoyed your discussion on whatever the topic was. And then I said, it'd be cool if you went more into leverage. And then you're like, yeah, man, when I get the time, maybe I'll scoot around that topic. And you did. And I was like, cool. Um, so yeah, I appreciate what you're doing and I'm grateful for being on your show.
Likewise, 100%, brother. And I love when people in the audience are right there with us on this journey, commenting, being in the conversation. Like, I want the audience to feel like they're right in the room with us, just like Spirit's in the room with us. So can the audience be. And with those comments, we're here for you. I know you do a fantastic job commenting on YouTube, on your own videos, on other people's videos.
Thanks, man.
We all have that opportunity to be a wonderful podcast host, a wonderful guest, a wonderful audience as well. So the potential is endless. Specifically, that conversation about leveraging, I think that's a huge topic, and I want to talk about it more with people because I think it can vastly benefit most people's lives just to learn the basics of how to leverage an opportunity for greater and greater opportunities.
Yeah. On the topic of the YouTube community and commenting and all that stuff, what I ended up started realizing was like all or a rising tide lifts all ships, right? So being involved in a YouTube community and like it's exciting for me to have other people out there that are willing to engage and because then you can create a new community, right? And like everybody offers something a little bit different. So like even if you're not like in the rising tide, even if you're not like a friggin' aircraft carrier of a channel, hey, your little canoe's gonna rise too, just being in the dock.